Hey everybody, this is Blue, and we are going to talk about consent forms and safe spaces and trigger warnings and all that stuff. We recently had the elections here in the US, and it has brought out a lot of interesting and disturbing scenery. And so, with everything that I saw, I think it is actual proof that we should not be using consent forms and safe spaces in our gaming sessions. Okay? And so let's get into this. During the election, the results brought out a lot of um, bad emotions out of people. There are a lot of people that lost their crap. I mean, it was disturbing. These are people that cannot handle reality. And if they can't handle reality, how are they supposed to be able to handle fantasy? Okay? And if we're doing a fantasy game, there is going to be a lot of bad things happen, brutal things happen. And so there's these liberals that want us to use these consent forms where we have to have a session 0 where we have to talk about anything that could possibly trigger somebody. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to do this, I don't think you are mature enough to be in a gaming session. If we have to worry that you are going to do this if something is mentioned, oh my gosh, that person got murdered, that person got drunk, that person's nude, and okay, or drugs, whatever. It seems like society has gotten so soft, so fragile, that anything and everything could set it off. And so we have a responsibility to ourselves and to the gaming community. Sometimes we have to do the unpopular and do the right thing. So it is my opinion that we should not be coddling these little twits like this. That we have to force them into facing their hardships, facing their fears, facing what's ever bothering them. We don't shove it down their throat. Of course not. Well, I mean, we're not inhumane. But sometimes they have to come to terms with and face their fears if they're ever going to grow out of it. In psychiatry, when they do the role playing, it is so that people can get a perspective on a subject and maybe get a different level of insight. They are facing their issues to heal from them. And yet all these frickin' liberals out here, they're wanting us to coddle them. Oh no, Jimmy might not take that too well. So we got to make sure that throughout our fantasy campaigns and all that, that Jimmy never has to deal with this. Now, that could be many things. Unfortunately, life was brutal back then. And so to say that even though it would be historically accurate that certain things happened, because Jimmy, we can't have that happen. No. Jimmy has to conform to the story, not the story conform to Jimmy. Okay? One of the saddest things that happens, well, two of the saddest things is slavery and sexual assault. Okay? But we know that was rampant back in the day. Back into the stone, copper, and iron ages, it happened a lot. Okay? In the real world, there was no race that did not get enslaved. Okay? So slavery was a part of it. Slavery is in the Bible. Okay? So you cannot just ignore it. It was such a relevant part of our history. A bad part? Yes. But a part nonetheless. And sexual assault happened a lot too. There were people that were exploiting others for everything. I mean, look at the movie Braveheart. A lot of us love that movie, right? But remember, they had that little rule where an English lord can do the deed with the bride, and the whole idea was to have the English lord, impregnate her so that they can breed out the Scottish. Well, that's sexual assault there. And so it's a part of history. And again, a very bad part. And it can be written into a backstory. It could be done, an event could happen, but not actually role played. But if we have to make sure that all these people don't get triggered, then we are taken away from stories. Some of these events can be part of an amazing storyline, because you could have somebody that was a slave that got their freedom, and they are experience a journey from being a slave for 5 to 10 years, to being somebody completely different. And that would be epic. But because somebody might be triggered by it, we can't do it, right? Screw them. Unfortunately, on sexual assault, it's a little bit harder, but again, it would be a part of a storyline where somebody may have been assaulted and that they grow from it. They go from a point of weakness and they go beyond it and they get stronger and they become better people. That would be a good storyline. Okay? We have to be able to tell a story without having all the warnings and all that. I don't want to ever play a game where somebody pulls up a red card. You're triggering me. You're triggering me. Fuck you. Okay? Sorry, I had to sneeze. So we got to take on kind of a responsibility as a GM, DM, to some degree force people to face their realities. We are doing them more harm by coddling them than by forcing them to face their issues in a very mild manner. Okay? We cannot have this society with these people and let them go. You don't want this at your table, right? So we have a responsibility to ourselves that we need to screen out people. If we think that they're going to do this, then maybe they should not be at our table. It's our table. And since it is our table, our game, we should be able to play it as we want, as we see fit. And so some people should not be at our table. Some people should never be playing role-playing games. And we have the responsibility for ourselves, for the group, and for the game to do the mature thing to do. We need to stop with the coddling and all that and make people grow up. Thank you.